The courtroom is filled with tension, the air thick with anticipation. The defendants, once perpetrators of heinous crimes, now stand before the judge awaiting their fate. These are not just criminals, they are the architects of terror whose actions have left a trail of devastation in their wake. Each killer's story is a harrowing tale of violence and destruction, a stark reminder of the darkness that lurks within us all. From calculated murders to senseless acts of brutality, their crimes have shocked the nation and shattered lives. As the judge delivers the verdict, the killer's reactions range from stoic silence to explosive outbursts, revealing glimpses of the twisted minds behind the crimes. Some show remorse, while others remain defiant to the end, their eyes betraying a chilling lack of empathy. Join us as we journey into the minds of these killers, exploring the events that led to their crimes and the consequences they now face. Their stories are a stark reminder of the thin line between civilization and chaos, a cautionary tale that challenges us to confront the darkness within and strive for a world where such atrocities are no longer possible.
Hunt has a pack. You're responsible for the kill. In this case, you can pretty much call me Pack Leader. I stabbed him like 4 to 8 times. I hit Jeffrey Howe until he stopped moving. I don't know how many times I hit him with a hammer.
That man, Michael Brady, beat that man, George Midget, like he was trying to bust gunpoint.
It was like a bloodbath, and I stepped in between Jeffrey and Wendy, and I slid trying to get in because the whole elevator floor was nothing but blood.
Within the walls of Pasquotank Correctional Institution in North Carolina, where the air is thick with tension, a chilling plot brewed, a bid for freedom that turned into a bloodbath orchestrated by Michael Brady, a man with nothing to lose. Brady's descent into infamy began with a 24-year sentence for attempted murder after he shot at a North Carolina state trooper. 4 years into his term, Brady, along with 3 other inmates, launched a savage attack on prison workers, wielding hammers and scissors with deadly intent. The brutality of Brady's assault was staggering, leaving 4 prison workers dead and the institution reeling. Witnesses described the scene as a horror movie come to life, with Brady and his accomplices showing no mercy as they struck down their victims. During his trial, Brady's demeanor was cold and unrepentant, a stark contrast to the devastation he had wrought. Prosecutors painted a grim picture of Brady as the mastermind behind the attack, a man driven by a desire for freedom at any cost. When the jury returned a unanimous verdict recommending the death penalty, Brady showed no emotion. The judge imposed the ultimate sentence, condemning Brady to await his fate in a Colorado prison, a stark reminder of the destructive power of violence and the irreversible consequences it can have. Brady's story serves as a cautionary tale, a grim reminder of the darkness that lurks within us all.
I didn't want to try to talk about it because he just killed one of my old friends in front of me, and he had a gun in his pocket, and I didn't know why.
Operates, Austin doesn't. Tim tells the truth, Austin lies. Tim tries to come in here and testify and take ownership of everything that happened.
The idea of strangling them, that way it would create no mess, pretty much be an easier job to handle. Obviously, Justin was trying to put up a fight, and he wasn't overpowering us.
If you choose for me to die, it's only going to cause more pain and suffering for another family, not me. It won't hurt me. I won't feel anything. It's going to hurt more innocent people.
I'm not going to stand up here and tell you how much I hate you. That is without question. I would just hope that every time you close your eyes at night, you see my son, Justin.
I think there's a lot of good things I can do with my life if you allow me to keep my life.
The defendant does not understand how precious life is. Therefore, the sentence of death shall be imposed upon Austin Gregory Myers on the charge of aggravated murder.
Amidst the peaceful streets of Waynesville, Ohio, a chilling saga unfolded. The peaceful streets were about to be stained with blood, a brutal crime that would shock the community to its core. This is the story of Austin Myers, a young man whose descent into darkness would leave a trail of destruction in his wake. It all began with a plan, an attempt to rob a safe belonging to Justin Back's father. Myers, along with his accomplice Timothy Mosley, entered Back's home with the intention of stealing the safe. However, their plan took a horrific turn when Back resisted. In a desperate struggle, Back was strangled with a choke wire, his pleas for mercy falling on deaf ears. But the brutality didn't end there. Myers, fueled by a twisted sense of power, stabbed back 21 times, ensuring that his victim would never survive. The scene was one of unimaginable horror, with blood spattered across the walls and the floor, a stark reminder of the violence that had taken place. During his trial, Mosley testified against Myers, admitting to his role in the crime in exchange for a plea bargain. Myers, however, showed no remorse for his actions. In a chilling testimony, he tried to justify his actions, claiming that he was simply trying to avoid a messy cleanup. As the trial progressed, the true extent of Myers' depravity was revealed. His callous disregard for human life and his willingness to commit unspeakable acts of violence shocked even the most seasoned observers. When it came time for Myers to plead for his life, he asked the jury to spare him, claiming that his family would suffer if he were sentenced to death. But his pleas fell on deaf ears. The jury unanimously recommended the death penalty, and Myers was sentenced to die for his crimes. Today, he sits on death row, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lies within us all and the devastating consequences of unchecked violence.
Do you not realize I got Nico Jenkins? Do you not realize that? I got Nico Jenkins. I got you.
What do you mean you got me?
I got your DNA at the murder scene. I got your DNA in the car.
Sir.
I got the weapon. I got Nico Jenkins.
Each one of these murders was a deliberate and planned act. The victims were pre-selected and the murders were purposeful. Therefore, this panel finds that the death penalty is appropriate, should be, and is hereby given for each of the 4 murders by the defendant.
In the heartland of Omaha, Nebraska, a string of murders unfolded, leaving a community in fear and disbelief. This is the chilling tale of Nico Jenkins, a young man whose descent into darkness led to a killing spree that shocked the nation. Nico Jenkins' story began with a troubled past. At just 15 years old, Jenkins was sent to a youth correctional facility for carjacking and assault. After serving a 10-year sentence, he was released back into society, but his freedom would only pave the way for more violence. Within a span of 10 days, Jenkins embarked on a killing spree that would claim the lives of 4 innocent victims. His first 2 victims were shot and killed during a robbery, their lives snuffed out in a senseless act of violence. But Jenkins' rampage didn't end there. Just 8 days later, he targeted a former inmate he had met in prison, shooting him dead in his own garage. 2 days after that, Jenkins struck again, this time killing a man in a carjacking. Despite being arrested on unrelated charges, Jenkins' reign of terror had left a community reeling. During his trial, the full extent of his crimes were laid bare. Prosecutors painted a picture of a cold and calculated killer, whose actions were deliberate and planned. Jenkins, however, showed no remorse for his actions. In a chilling statement, he admitted to the murders and claimed that he was on a mission from God. His actions, he claimed, were justified in the eyes of a higher power. When the jury found Jenkins guilty on all 4 counts of murder, he remained emotionless, showing no reaction to the verdict. The jury recommended the death penalty and Jenkins was sentenced to die for his crimes. Today, Nico Jenkins sits on death row, a stark reminder of the darkness that lurks within us all. His story serves as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked violence, and a testament to the resilience of those who seek justice in the face of unspeakable tragedy.
That's you, isn't it, sir?
Yes.
Look at it, please, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Gale is on the floor going down at this point, isn't he?
Yes.
Okay, and that's you shooting him, right?
Yes.
Look at the screen, sir.
Yes.
That's you shooting him?
Yes.
Can you admit that you shot him in cold blood?
Yes.
You shot him again, didn't you?
Yes.
After that, you went back to the toilet paper aisle, didn't you?
Yes.
You took Anthony from me on the exact day, 20 years earlier, that we had our first date.
In count 1, I will sentence you to death. Count 2, you will be sentenced to death. In count 3, you will be sentenced to life in the penitentiary.
In the bustling town of South Haven, Mississippi, a routine day at Walmart turned into a nightmare, forever etched in the memory of those who witnessed the horror. This is the harrowing tale of Martez Abram, a former Walmart employee whose descent into violence ended in tragedy. Martez Abram's story begins with a seemingly ordinary day at work, but beneath the violence, tensions were brewing. Abram, facing suspension for carrying a knife on the premises, was on the brink of losing his job, a prospect that would set off a chain of events that would change lives forever. On the day of his suspension, Abram returned to the Walmart armed with multiple weapons, including a firearm. In a moment of unbridled rage, he opened fire, targeted store managers Anthony Brown and Brandon Gales. The once bustling store was now a scene of chaos and carnage as Abram's bullets found their mark. In the midst of the chaos, Abram also shot an officer who miraculously survived thanks to his bulletproof vest. The Walmart, once a symbol of community and commerce, was now a crime scene, forever tainted by Abram's senseless act of violence. During his trial, Abram admitted to all charges, offering no justification for his actions. The courtroom was filled with the palpable grief of the victims' families as they struggled to make sense of the senseless violence that had shattered their lives. One victim's wife delivered a poignant victim impact statement, reflecting on the loss of her loved one and the devastation wrought by Abram's actions. Her words echo the sentiments of an entire community grappling with the aftermath of tragedy. In a final act of justice, the judge handed down the maximum sentence to Abram. He was sentenced to death for his crime, a punishment that reflected the severity of his actions and the irreparable harm he had caused. Today, Martez Adams sits on death row, a stark reminder of the consequences of unchecked violence and the importance of seeking help before it's too late. His story serves as a cautionary tale, urging us all to be vigilant in the face of anger and to seek peaceful solutions to our problems before they escalate into tragedy.
I'm creating a relationship, but somehow I have absolutely don't know nothing about. And they frame me,
And I was just reacting, Mary. I was just reacting. Even when they opened the door, I just reacted. I fired 2 shots, I just reacted.
It really hurts deep down inside. She stood in the place as my mother when I didn't have one. I truly miss my sister. I truly miss her.
We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Markeith Lloyd, should be sentenced to death.
You've been trying to kill me. People are trying to bring me for murder.
All right, why don't we remove Mr. Lloyd from the courtroom?
In the bustling city of Orlando, Florida, a series of events unfolded that would forever change the lives of those involved. This is the tragic tale of Markeith Lloyd, a man whose actions would lead to the loss of innocent lives in a community left in shock. Markeith Lloyd's story begins with a history of violence and crime. Already on the run from the police for the murder of his former girlfriend, who was pregnant with his child, Lloyd's path of destruction would only escalate from there. One fateful day, Lloyd was spotted in a Walmart store by Orlando Police Lieutenant Deborah Clayton. As she attempted to apprehend him, a shootout ensued, resulting in Lieutenant Clayton being fatally shot 4 times. The brazen act of violence shocked the community and left a beloved officer dead. Following the murder of Lieutenant Clayton, Lloyd managed to evade capture, sparking a 9-day manhunt that gripped the city. Despite his attempts to escape, Lloyd was eventually apprehended, but not before a violent altercation that resulted in him losing his left eye. During his trial, Lloyd took the stand, claiming that he believed everyone was out to kill him and that he was merely reacting in self-defense. However, his actions spoke louder than his words, and he was found guilty of murder. As the jury unanimously recommended the death penalty for Lloyd, the courtroom was filled with a mix of emotions: grief for the loss of Lieutenant Clayton, relief that justice was served, and a lingering sense of unease at the senseless violence that had unfolded. In a final act of justice, the judge sentenced Lloyd to death, ensuring that he would pay the ultimate price for his crimes. Today, Markeith Lloyd sits behind bars, awaiting his fate on death row. A stark reminder of the devastating impact of violence and the importance of seeking peaceful resolutions to conflict. His story serves as a cautionary tale, urging us all to strive for understanding and compassion in the face of adversity, lest we risk descending into a cycle of violence and despair. As we conclude this exploration into the darkest corners of humanity, we are reminded of the fragile balance between justice and mercy. The stories of these brutal killers serve as a stark warning of the consequences of unchecked violence and the importance of upholding the principles of law and order. While the death penalty remains a controversial topic, these cases highlight the complexities of justice and the need for society to grapple with the difficult questions they raise. As we reflect on the lives lost and the families shattered by these senseless acts, may we strive for a future where such tragedies are a thing of the past. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Remember, it is in understanding the darkest aspects of our world that we can work towards a brighter future for all.